This is not an accident. To get Meghan Markle to Paris, she flew in first class. She stayed at a five-star hotel. She had security with her. She had her own hair and makeup team waiting for her in Paris. It could have cost around about 800, $900,000, maybe $1 million.
To say the least, to see Meghan Markle pop up at the Balenciaga fashion show. Now, Rebecca, this was a significant moment for Meghan, wasn't it? A significant appearance.
It was a significant moment for her, yes. I think took quite a lot of people by surprise. Whether it ended so well.
Apparently, Halloween has come early as Meghan Markle just made an appearance at the Balenciaga fashion show in Paris in an outfit that I can only describe as a mix between grandma's pajamas and maybe a ghost Halloween costume or maybe a Poke costume or something like that. I'm not even doing it to the greatest effect here.
Paris fashion and leaked hotel bills? Meghan Markle's Paris trip was supposed to be her glamorous comeback, but instead it turned out to be one of her biggest scandals yet. From luxury suites to mysterious payments, insiders are now exposing who really funded her lavish stay. And trust me, it's not who anyone expected. Even Prince Harry was reportedly blindsided. So grab your tea and stay tuned till the end, because this story takes twists no one saw coming.
Of course, to support the new head designer of Balenciaga, who is a long-term friend of hers. And she kind of teased her arrival there. It wasn't announced in advance. She teased her arrival on Instagram with the sight of her feet clicking and clacking down a corridor to a very kind of French tune, a very Gallic tune. And then she's kind of...
As soon as I saw Meghan Markle walking out of the Balenciaga fashion show, and by the way, weren't they the people who made some pretty weird ads a couple of years ago? I mean, just roll
totally
on.
Exploitative of young children.
Yeah, roll on, that's fine. They keep, they're uncancelable. And you're going, sorry, I'm pretty sure that would sort of rule most people out. But what did you think about the person who thinks they're queen in their own mind, just with the saunter and all the rest of it as she was leaving the fashion show, that being Meghan Markle?
Meghan Markle, who out of nowhere, Rob, nowhere, alights in Paris like the second coming. I mean, she is swathed in white on cream on white, like she's the Messiah. And over she went to the Balenciaga show. And never forget, Balenciaga came under heavy, heavy fire 2 years ago for an advertisement that we are showing.
Paris, the city of lights, love, and apparently leaked receipts. Meghan's highly anticipated return to Europe was meant to mark her grand re-entry into elite society. A fashion diplomacy moment that would remind the world she still had star power. But instead of applause, she got headlines. And those headlines weren't about her stunning outfits or red carpet glow. They were about the jaw-dropping price tag behind it all. And more importantly, who was footing the bill. The receipts didn't lie. Thousands spent on penthouse suites, designer room service, and private security, all under someone else's name. The internet practically exploded. One commentator even joked that Meghan was more desperate than Emily in Paris, and nowhere near as entertaining. Ouch! But let's rewind a little. Paris had been buzzing for weeks before Meghan's arrival. Word spread that she had set to make a surprise appearance at Paris Fashion Week. Not as a background guest, but as the main event. Cameras were already swarming outside Hotel Plaza Athene, one of the most exclusive hotels in the world, where rooms can cost up to $20,000 a night. The Duchess took her 4.2 million followers along for the ride, posting a Get Ready With Me montage for the Balenciaga show. She was seen rubbing elbows with stars like Anne Hathaway and Simone Ashley, serving full red carpet energy in her oversized shades and sleek Balenciaga coat. Insiders say she was radiant, convinced this was her big redemption arc, her perfect Parisian comeback. But behind the flashes and filtered Instagram stories, something wasn't adding up. Sources claim the hotel staff were told to treat her like a guest of importance, but not by the hotel itself. Apparently, the booking had been made under a corporate sponsor's name. Meghan hadn't personally paid for her stay, and it wasn't Archewell either. At first, no one thought much of it, but then the invoices leaked, and once people saw the corporate connection, everything changed. What was supposed to be Meghan's shining Paris moment suddenly started looking a lot like a PR disaster waiting to happen.
This is not an accident. To get Meghan Markle to Paris, she flew in first class. She stayed at a five-star hotel. She had security with her. She had her own hair and makeup team waiting for her in Paris. It could have cost around about $800,000, maybe $1 million to just get her there. I've worked in the fashion business. Having somebody that's a huge star on the front row is very important. These celebrities often get paid by brands. They certainly get their transportation covered. So to get Meghan there was a big deal. They wanted her. She wanted to go because now she has dreams of becoming a fashion ambassador. She would love to have a $10, $20 million campaign from a fashion house. Let's be honest.
For a few days, everything seemed fine, until a French gossip magazine dropped an absolute bombshell. They claim Meghan's entire Paris stay, from her lavish penthouse suite to the private chauffeur waiting outside, had been fully covered by none other than Balenciaga. Yep, the same brand Meghan had allegedly been trying to partner with, even though no official deal existed. Basically, they were saying she'd gotten the five-star treatment without ever signing on the dotted line. Reports suggested Meghan had actually invited herself to the Balenciaga show during Paris Fashion Week. And that's where the story really took a turn. Remember, this was the same Balenciaga already trying to recover from multiple controversies, hoping to clean up its image by associating with high-profile humanitarian figures.
Here, this is a full-on ad, not for a high fashion house, but for This was a holiday ad campaign launched by Balenciaga in November 2022, featuring a small child holding up a teddy bear dressed in bondage gear. Ugh. Another image depicted two small children standing on a bed, surrounded by, reportedly, allegedly, court documents from a child. Okay, so great exercise in judgment, once again, Meghan Markle. And that's before we even get to the Diana disaster tourism that she engaged in.
As soon as I saw Meghan Markle walking out of the Balenciaga fashion show, and by the way, weren't they the people who made some pretty weird ads a couple of years ago? I mean, you know, just roll on.
Exploitative of young children.
Yeah, roll on, that's fine. They keep, you know, they're uncancelable. And you're going, sorry, I'm pretty sure that would sort of rule most people out. But what did you think about the person who thinks they're queen in their own mind, just with the saunter and all the rest of it as she was leaving the fashion show, that being Meghan Markle?
Okay. The reason Giselle is because she will walk out of the Balenciaga fashion show and you will not be able to tell at all how hard she's trying.
But when the rumors started spreading, insiders from the company immediately pushed back. They flat out denied sponsoring Meghan's trip, claiming she had used her name to secure VIP access and luxury perks, essentially implying there was a deal that never existed in the first place. And when that headline dropped, the internet erupted. Every outlet ran with it. Balenciaga denies funding Meghan Markle's Paris stay. Duchess in hot water over hotel lies. Social media went absolutely feral. Twitter threads, memes, YouTube clips, the whole circus. Meanwhile, Meghan, who had been posting vague quotes on her lifestyle page about truth always rising, suddenly went radio silent. No new posts, no statements, not even a paparazzi smile. And honestly, that silence said more than any PR statement ever could.
And a lot of royal watchers were surprised, to say the least, to see Meghan Markle pop up at the Balenciaga fashion show. Now, Rebecca, this was a significant moment for Meghan, wasn't it? A significant appearance.
It was a significant moment for her, yes. I think took quite a lot of people by surprise. Whether it ended so well is another question. What made me smile about this, she was going, of course, to support the new head designer of Balenciaga, who is a long-term friend of hers. And she kind of teased her arrival there. It wasn't announced in advance. She teased her arrival on Instagram with a...
Critics didn't hold back either. One commentator on live TV mocked her, saying she wasn't exactly an inspiration to women, just someone who married a famous man. The tone was brutal, but it reflected what many were already whispering online. Behind the scenes, though, things were far from calm. A source close to Archewell claimed Prince Harry was furious when he found out what really happened. Apparently, Harry had been completely in the dark. He believed the Paris trip was cleared by their PR team, maybe even a strategic move for Meghan's rumored influencer comeback. But when the truth came out, it didn't look like strategy anymore. It looked like deception. And for a couple already under constant scrutiny, this was the last thing they needed. Critics immediately started drawing comparisons to Meghan's royal past. The woman who had once called out palace privilege was now being accused of faking sponsorships for luxury perks. As one tweet perfectly put it, she left the royals to escape image manipulation. Now she's doing the same thing, just with designer.
Everything she's done financially, and maybe even everything, period, has not worked out. They need money. The money is running out. They live as if they are royalty in Montecito, and that money is not coming in anymore. Harry's book made a lot of money. He inherited a lot of money from his grandmother and also too from his great-grandmother. So there's money there. Don't feel boo-hoo for them. They have a great life. But the life that they want, they need to earn money. Meghan is really, really being pushy here to try and get a campaign. And I think, had this not so spectacularly exploded on Meghan, she might have got one. They at first enjoyed all the press. The fashion houses loved all the coverage, but then the Diana card was played by Meghan. It was a self-inflicted.
By the end of that week, the damage was done, and it was bad. French tabloids were questioning whether Meghan had broken hotel policy by using a fake corporate code, while American outlets were already digging into possible ethics violations. What started as a fashion faux pas had turned into an international scandal. The British press mocked her, saying the Duchess hasn't changed, while Hollywood insiders rolled their eyes, calling it yet another Markle misstep. And behind closed doors, Meghan reportedly broke down. Sources close to her said she didn't see any of this coming. She apparently believed a few friendly emails and a handshake with Balenciaga's team meant that there was some kind of unofficial deal, something that would make both her and the brand look good. But Balenciaga wasn't having it. The moment they found out her stay had been tied to them, they immediately pulled back. According to one insider, she thought she was being clever, but the brand made it clear they had never agreed to anything, even sending a legal notice to cut all association.
It wasn't announced in advance. She teased her arrival on Instagram with the sight of her feet clicking and clacking down a corridor to a very kind of French tune, a very Gallic tune. And then she's kind of documented her entire experiences there on social media. But, my gosh, I mean, aside from someone who's, one half of a couple who kind of consider themselves environmental crusaders, flying to Paris just for a couple of days for a fashion show, it was kind of treated by her people.
Then came the media storm. One British TV host went off, saying this might be Meghan's sickest stunt yet, and accused her of trying to use Princess Diana's memory for sympathy. It was a brutal blow, not just to her career, but to her image. Meghan had spent months trying to reinvent herself through what she called fashion diplomacy, hoping to blend style with humanitarian credibility. She wanted to be seen like Amal Clooney, elegant, respected, untouchable. But instead, she was back in the tabloids accused of freeloading and manipulation.
We even get to the Diana disaster tourism that she engaged in, driving past Diana's death tunnel with her feet up in her chauffeur SUV and the strutting around like Paris has never seen
now, I know
such.
this really takes some doing, but this is Meghan Markle's sickest stunt yet. This weekend, she decided to invoke the memory of dead Princess Diana in a deliberate attempt to terrorize her long-suffering husband, Prince Harry, a very mentally unwell man. Let's just be honest about that. And she did this all after teaming up with the dodgy child scandal fashion brand Balenciaga during a bizarre trip to Paris. This video, designed to mentally her husband as she drove near the scene of his mother's death, proves categorically we are dealing with a deeply twisted and troubled individual. And just look at Meghan's face when one of the photographers outside the hotel mentioned security, knowing full well the game she was playing. She was not happy to be rumbled at all.
Meghan, security, what you doing, security? Thank you so much, Meghan.
If looks could... Samantha Markle, Meghan's sister, posted, "Is it true that my sister was doing selfies in the tunnel where Diana..." That's what I'm hearing. Now, that would be a really sick example of being a disaster tourist. I would love to see Justine Bateman chime in on that.
As the headline spread, even the palace couldn't resist chiming in. Royal insiders reportedly said that the Paris trip had embarrassed the crown and proved once again why Meghan would never be welcomed back. One aide even joked that the only royal thing about that trip was the price tag. And just when it couldn't get worse, Prince Harry got dragged in too. His name appeared on a few of the leaked hotel documents, even though he hadn't even set foot in Paris. Critics immediately pounced, accusing him of benefiting from the same fake sponsorship perks. When Meghan finally returned to California, things at home didn't look any brighter. Neighbors in Montecito said the couple seemed to vanish, barely leaving their house. Paparazzi noticed the curtains drawn and security ramped up. It looked like they'd gone into full lockdown mode. Then came the final blow. Reports that several luxury fashion houses had quietly blacklisted Meghan after the scandal. No one wanted to be associated with her name. The woman who once sat front row at Dior was now being shut out of the very world she'd tried to reclaim. Exiled, not by royalty this time, but by the fashion elite. The internet had an absolute field day with this one. Memes flooded social media comparing Meghan to that friend who always forgets her wallet. Commentators roasted her for going from royal elegance to retail embarrassment. But beneath the jokes, people started to sense something deeper, that Meghan's carefully built image might finally be cracking. Even her most loyal supporters began asking tough questions. If she could stretch the truth about a simple hotel stay, what else might she have exaggerated? And just like that, Meghan's Paris dream turned into a full-blown Montecito nightmare. But the real bombshell hadn't even dropped yet, because when investigators dug deeper into those leaked hotel records, they found something that sent shockwaves through both Hollywood and the royal watching world. Another name had surfaced, a name no one expected. That's when the fairy tale completely fell apart. Turns out the truth behind the bills wasn't some harmless mistake or PR misunderstanding. It was something much bigger. The person who actually paid for Meghan's luxury Paris getaway wasn't Balenciaga, and it wasn't Archewell, and it definitely wasn't Meghan herself. It was a wealthy media investor from Los Angeles, someone with deep Hollywood connections and, according to insiders, a complicated past with Meghan. His name hadn't been publicly linked to her in years, but the receipts told a very different story. Payments were traced back to an entertainment firm he partially owned, the same firm Meghan had allegedly pitched her With Love Meghan lifestyle brand to, just months before the Paris trip. For now, people started calling him Mr. X. The second his name hit the press, the whole thing exploded. And it wasn't just about who paid, it was why.
The second coming. And it was like...
Well, it was her first visit to Paris for 2 years, so maybe for them it is a big deal.
Well, her first visit to Europe, I think, for 2 years,
Well,
and
yeah,
her first appearance at the...
Since the Invictus Games.
Yeah, exactly, in Germany, yeah, and her first visit to the Paris fashion shows. But, you know, and I don't want to denigrate the fashion industry because I'm a great champion of, you know, what it does for all our economies. But the way it was lauded, it was like she's a woman going there to sit on the front row, do a bit of clapping and then come home again.
Why was a Hollywood investor footing the bill for a supposedly professional event? And why had Meghan made it seem like luxury brands were backing her when they weren't? The optics were terrible. Overnight, British tabloids dusted off her old nickname, Manipulative Meghan. U.S. gossip outlets ran wild with theories, debating whether this was a botched sponsorship deal or something a lot more personal. Back home in Montecito, the fallout was just as ugly. Sources claim Prince Harry was furious when he found out. He had no clue another man had covered the trip. He reportedly thought Meghan had handled everything through the proper PR channels, only to wake up and see the headlines like everyone else. According to one insider, Harry felt humiliated, even betrayed. And when royal commentators replayed an old clip of Harry saying it was impossible for him to take his family back to the UK, the irony hit hard. Because now, even across the ocean, The scandals were following them everywhere, and this one might have been the worst yet. According to
I can't see a world in which I would be bringing my wife and children back to the UK at this point. And the things that they're going to miss is, well, everything. You know, I love my country. I always have done.
According to insiders, the discovery sparked one of Harry and Meghan's worst arguments yet. Harry, already overwhelmed by the public backlash, accused Meghan of dragging them through another humiliating scandal. Meghan, reportedly in tears, tried to explain that Mr. X was just a business contact, someone offering to invest in her upcoming projects. But Harry wasn't convinced. He reportedly shouted that it wasn't about intent, it was about optics, saying she'd promised they were moving past all this. For days,
I don't know how staying silent is ever going to make things better.
Wouldn't your brother say to you, Harry, how could you do this to me? After everything we went through, wouldn't that be what he would say?
He'd probably say all sorts of different things.
Some people will say, you have railed against invasions of your privacy all your life. But the accusation will be, here are you invading the privacy of your most nearest and dearest without permission. That'll be the accusation.
That would be the accusation from the people that don't understand or don't want to believe that my family have been briefing the press.
If you're invited to the coronation, will you come?
There's a lot that can happen between now and then. But, you know, the door is always open. The ball is in their court. There's a lot to be discussed, and I really hope that they are willing to sit down and talk about it.
Do you still believe in the monarchy?
Yes.
Do you believe you'll play a part in its future?
I don't know.
For days, the two barely spoke. Meghan isolated herself, canceling meetings and staying silent online. Friends said she felt trapped, that her dream comeback had turned into a PR disaster. What was meant to be her triumphant return to the spotlight had become a symbol of deceit and desperation. Then reporters began digging into Mr. X's past, and the story got worse. Leaked emails, some confirmed, it showed Meghan had contacted him months earlier to pitch her woman's empowerment brand and discuss possible partnerships. It now looked less like a coincidence and more like a planned attempt to secure funding. When those emails hit the tabloids, the fallout was brutal. Critics accused her of using personal connections to finance her lifestyle, while even her usual defenders struggled to justify the optics. Overnight, Meghan's name was once again tied to scandal, not philanthropy or advocacy, but manipulation and image control. Hollywood started to back away. PR insiders whispered that she'd become radioactive after Paris, a risk few wanted to take. One top stylist told Page Six that brands were now scared to associate with her. The moment Balenciaga denied any involvement, people realized Meghan no longer had the influence she once did. And that's when the emotional collapse really began.
But, and I don't want to denigrate the fashion industry because I'm a great champion of, what it does for all our economies. But the way it was lauded, it was like she's a woman going there to sit on the front row, do a bit of clapping and then come home again.
Did you like the outfit?
I'll let you claim credit for what you called it, Joe.
I didn't know. A friend of mine texted me to say he thought it was stormtrooper realness. That was my favourite description.
I thought it was kind of cult leader chic, which is, I think, what you said to me. Look, it's not my style, and I'm not a particularly stylish person.
Sources close to the couple revealed that Meghan couldn't stop crying once she saw how far the fallout had spread. One friend told The Sun she thought Paris was her big reset, her chance to start fresh. But instead it blew up in her face. She felt betrayed by everyone, the media, the palace, even those she once trusted. But others quietly suggested the damage was self-inflicted. Reports claimed her own team had warned her not to use Mr. X's company name without a signed agreement. She ignored the advice, and when the story broke, that assistant resigned. By then, Harry had apparently reached his limit. The couple, once known for their united front, now seemed more distant than ever. Publicly, Meghan and Harry tried to keep things together. They smiled for charity photos, hoping to calm the storm. But insiders said that behind closed doors, Meghan was falling apart. She was convinced someone from their inner circle had betrayed her. According to one source, she cried every night, feeling like everyone had turned against her. She reportedly told friends it was all a misunderstanding, that she'd only been trying to build something positive, and now the whole world was calling her a liar. Meanwhile, the palace couldn't have written a better script. Royal staff were said to be quietly smirking, calling the scandal proof that Meghan was still acting like a Hollywood social climber. Aides even hinted that this was the reason reconciliation with King Charles had stalled once again. Reports claim the king was deeply disappointed by how far Harry and Meghan had fallen. As for Mr. X, he disappeared from the spotlight completely. His team issued a short statement denying any personal ties to Meghan and insisting the payments had been made in error. But by that point, it didn't matter. The receipts were already public, and the damage was irreversible. By the end of it all, Meghan's Paris trip had gone from glamorous to catastrophic. The woman who once fascinated the world with her poise and charm was now being painted as manipulative and reckless. Even longtime fans started to lose faith. Online, one former supporter wrote, "I defended her for years, but this feels shady. If she can't even tell the truth about a hotel bill, what else has she exaggerated?" It was brutal, but the most painful part came from inside Montecito itself. Reports said Meghan eventually stopped crying and just went quiet. She cut off calls, stopped going out, and refused to face the cameras. The same walls that once gave her privacy had become her prison. For Harry, already facing his own public struggles, it was another harsh reminder of how fast their world was crumbling. Friends said he confided to someone close, admitting, "Every time we try to start over, something happens. It's like we're cursed." By the time the chaos settled, one thing was undeniable. Meghan's Paris dream had turned into a global humiliation. Her reputation was in ruins, her Hollywood comeback uncertain, and her marriage under intense pressure. And just when things couldn't get worse, rumors began circulating that those very hotel receipts, the ones that had started it all, had ended up with a UK documentary team. That's right, a special expose about the Paris scandal is reportedly in the works, aiming to uncover who really funded Meghan's trip. And if that's true, the worst might not even be over. This time, there's no palace to protect her, no PR team strong enough to spin it, and no fairy tale ending waiting on the other side. Paris was meant to be her big comeback, but instead, it may have marked the start of her downfall. And somewhere behind the drawn curtains of Montecito, Meghan must be realizing that no matter how hard she tries to rewrite her story, the ghosts of her past always keep the receipts. And there you have it, the Paris fairy tale that became Meghan Markle's ultimate PR nightmare. What started as a trip to reclaim her shine may have just sealed her downfall. From leaked receipts to royal whispers, it seems the past always finds a way to resurface. But what do you think? Was Meghan misunderstood or exposed? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more royalty just like this.